Bonjour, my name is Jacques-Yves Cousteau, and I have an invention for you today called SCUBA. It stands for the Self-Contained Underwater Breathing Apparatus. Basically, what it allows you to do is take oxygen with you underneath the water so you can explore the underwater world and landscape. This has a lot of beneficial uses to modern science in the ways of studying animal life, studying underwater geology. We can discover thermal vents and understand the way that plate tectonics affects our Earth, and find out about new island formations and island chains. We can use it for ecotourism as well. Ecotourism is a field where basically you take people who want to explore and you use ecology and the natural world to sell a product which is already there. So, for example, you could have a scuba outfitter service where you have 10 tanks and scuba gear setups, and 1 or 2 guides takes out the rest of the 8 or 9 people. You charge them money, bring them out on a boat, and show them the Finding Nemo landscape that is hidden underwater from most humans. Scuba is also important for a few other reasons. Scuba can help our engineers work on bridges to place concrete and structured fortifications underneath the water where we want to build bridges and underwater science stations. Without scuba, you would have to either use a machine or you would need to keep coming up back to the surface for air. Now, scuba is different from other breathing apparatuses that have been used in the past, such as the aqualung. You are all familiar with that big picture of the large space helmet type helmet that goes over the shoulders. It's very heavy, and there's a hose connected to the top. This would no longer be necessary because you can bring your air, compressed air, with you on your back down to the depths of the ocean. In addition to the scuba apparatus itself, with what is known as a regulator, something that goes into your mouth so you can breathe with a hose connected to the tank on your back, you would also have items such as weight belts, which would help you stay lower in the water. You would have a air bladder, which you could fill up from the air on your back, and you could let air out or put air in to rise or descend in the water in order to explore different areas at different depths. You would also have a wetsuit that would keep you warm but also offer some amount of buoyancy, which is why the weight belts are necessary. You would have a mask which would protect your eyes and your nose from the water environment, and would not interfere with the regulator itself that you are breathing from. In addition, you would have fins, don't call them flippers, but fins that will help you navigate the world underneath the water more easily. And there will also be certain gauges on the apparatus themselves to measure things like air pressure in your tank, water pressure, where you are and how much force is on top of you, because technically all that water that you're underneath is sitting on top of you, creating pressure, squeezing you. So that is what scuba entails. I think this would be a very helpful invention to the field of science, especially marine biology, especially to the field of underwater engineering, as I mentioned before, and to the field of ecotourism. Those are 3 main fields of science that this would directly contribute to and help be profitable. Also, these items would not be too expensive for the average person to buy, would this be their hobby, but at the same time be very lucrative, because certain businesses would be impacted, such as manufacturing. Someone needs to make the tank. The chemical industry. Someone needs to compress the air and inject it into the tank. And also this could help certain scientific endeavors like aquariums, because it would make it easier for cleaning of the tanks, large tanks. It would make it easier to feed the fish, and you could even put on a show for the people who came to the aquarium to see the show in the first place. This concludes my Shark Tank presentation. I hope that you like it, and I hope you will invest in my product. Remember, I am Jacques-Yves Cousteau, and my product is called SCUBA. Okay, so Mr. Cousteau, thank you for your presentation. I think SCUBA shows a lot of promise. I just have a few questions for you. First of all, what would you do to make SCUBA safe for other people? What happens if you drown down there, or your tank stops working, or the pressure gauge is wrong? Are there any backup ideas that you have to help the scuba diver to combat those safety issues? Yes, that's a very good question about safety. So in order to go scuba diving, there are certain safety precautions, obviously, and certifications that you would need to be able to get in the water and dive on your own. Now, diving with a scuba certified instructor, or what will become to be known as a dive master, would be the ideal situation for someone learning how to scuba dive. Now, it's hard to actually tell if you're just going to have an act of God type of accident underneath the water. But there are things that we've done to make sure that this doesn't happen. So you have your regulators, you check your gear every single time before you go scuba diving. You check your pressure, you check your air levels, and you check all the equipment to make sure that nothing's malfunctioning before you get in the water. You have someone else check your equipment for you as well, as an added safety precaution. Additionally, it is hard to know if something bad will happen under the water, but if it does, you have an extra regulator. You can have a reserve tank of air. You will also have people around you. You're never supposed to go scuba diving by yourself, but you will have other people around you to help you if your tank runs out of air or falls off and sinks to the bottom. For example, if you can signal to someone, which I'll get to later, that your tank is gone and you have no way of breathing air anymore, you will signal to them. They can share air with you. This is the symbol in sign language for sharing air. Then what you can do is you can take a breath off of their regulator and they will give you a breath back. Take a breath off and they'll give you a breath back. What happens if your regulator pops out of your mouth while you are scuba diving? There's a technique where you circle your arm behind your back like this, and it will automatically come right back here. You take it and you put it right back in your mouth. Blow out, all the water is expelled, and then you can breathe in normally again. Back to the sign language portion. There are certain signs that you'll have to learn in the certification process, such as ascend, descend, not good and bad, but go up and go down. This means I'm okay. This means I'm out of air. This means share air. There is a certain language that you will be versed in during the certification process in order to help you and the people around you while you are scuba diving. Yes, another question. You said that these would be relatively affordable for the average person to be able to buy. About how much would you estimate that a full setup would cost, including tank, wetsuit, goggles? It's a very good question on the affordability of the scuba apparatus. Basically, if you wanted to get a decent entire system, probably cost you about $1,000 to $3,000 in today's money. Now, you could go above and beyond and get full face masks. You could get scuba gear that would protect you in frozen waters off Antarctica. There are a lot of different bells and whistles you could go for, but in terms of that would be for more scientific purposes or for the real adventurers out there. But if you just wanted to get into this as a starter, expect to spend maybe $800 to $1,000 for basic equipment. So why is this invention different from what we have already? Why can't we just have a tube connected to the air above the water on a boat where someone's just there pumping air into the tube? What is the harm in just letting somebody hold their breath and go all the way down? Or why can't I just bring a bag of air down with me, weighted by rocks, and then breathe from that? Another good question. In terms of safety or just a hose connected from the surface, we would worry about the pressure of the air and the cleanliness of the air coming down and going back up, because if you were very deep, if you breathe out, then that air goes up the hose, but then you'd be breathing that same air back in, and it's possible to get lightheaded, maybe lose consciousness. In addition, there are things to be thought about, such as coming up too fast, because the pressure in your lungs will be different depending on where you are in the water. So if you rise too quickly, you can get very sick. You can get a condition called the bends, where the nitrogen in your blood actually comes out of solution, becomes a gas. It's very painful. You can die from it. So that would be another part of the certification process that would teach you how to combat the very quick ascent in the water when air is in your lungs. Picture this. You take a deep breath underwater when everything is already very pressurized. You hold your breath and you go up. That pressure will lessen and your lungs will expand and expand and expand and expand. It could do damage to the alveoli in your lungs, ruin the ability for you to breathe, and like I said, nitrogen narcosis could occur. You can pass out. So this would be a certification process. Last question, Mr. Cousteau. So you said that this could give people a perspective on the underwater world, things that they don't always get to see. Why is that important? Convince us right now on this panel why we need to see what's underneath the water, because every day I'm out here on the land, it doesn't seem like I need to go explore the ocean. I'm not really excited to go out and go underwater. It seems kind of dangerous. Convince me why I would need SCUBA. I'm glad you asked that last question. So why do you need it? There are a lot more uses than just the ones I already mentioned. One of them would be underwater photography. So this is also another field that would be scientifically very advantageous for the human race. We could have documentaries shot underwater. We could shoot feature films underwater. And lastly, the most important thing, like I mentioned before, the freedom to explore the underwater world that we normally don't get a chance to see, is a beautiful, beautiful thing that you can only really understand once you've done it. So I offer to you, sharks here on Shark Tank, that I will personally take you to go scuba diving for your first time after we've completed a certification course, and you will fall in love with scuba and it will change your life. This is my presentation. Thank you for allowing me the time to talk to you investors. I appreciate it, and I hope you like my invention. Yes. What do we think? Do we want to buy this invention? Do we think it's gonna work out well for us? Buy it. Buy it. How does $1 bazillion sound, Mr. Cousteau? Thank you. Thank you so much.